Welcome back to another episode of Let Us Be Sustainable. I'm Frank. Today I am going to make a video on how I hand pollinate and what to look for when you're ready to hand pollinate your roses. Um, I'll show the pictures and it's going to be like a voiceover with the photographs, and then I'm going to actually demonstrate it at the end of the video. So if you have any questions about the whole process, comment and let me know and I'll get back to you. And let's get to it. I'll be right back. Okay, here I have a rose bud and the flower that I took off one of my rose bushes. I just pretend that it's still attached to the actual rose bush. This is for this demonstration purposes only. So what you're looking for in a rose, it's semi-opened with the sepals that are already curled down. At that point, you know the rose is ready to give you pollen. And for the pistons to receive the pollen, that's the female part of the rose. So I'm going to start showing you what to do and how to do that. Next, carefully remove the petals and the petaloids without damaging the anthers or the pistons. You have to do this very carefully. If done right, you expose the anthers, which is the part of the flowers, the male parts that house the pollen. At this stage, we either emasculate the rosebud by removing all the anthers and the pollen. You can choose to save the pollen in a vessel, a glass vessel, and save the pollen for a future cross, which I do sometimes. But for the most part, what I do is I emasculate the bud that I want to pollinate with some other kind of pollen. This is what the rosebud looks like after it's been emasculated, ready to receive pollen from another cultivar. The pistons are the female parts of this rose, where you would apply the pollen from your cultivar of choice. Here's a view of the piston from the top. This is where you would apply the pollen. When applying the pollen, make sure you make good contact with the pistons in order to have good fertilization and seed formation. Okay, here we are with one of the roses. This is one called Cherish. And when you're hand pollinating, you have to have enough roses available for hand pollinating. And the reason I have the bags over them is so that the bees don't get to them before I do. And you want to be able to make sure that there is viable pollen. Today is not a really good day to do this, but I thought I'd share how I go about doing it. And in the last video, let's go back a bit. Here, that's a better view. Okay, that's a better angle. I said you want to defoliate. I know. You don't get to enjoy the blooms, but what you want to get is the pollen. Okay. Now see, these are the anthers where the pollen is, the little pollen sacs. And the center there, if you can see it, is the pistons where the bees would come get the pollen and then they would pollinate the center there. That's how the seeds are formed. But when you're hand pollinating, and I want to cross this with something else, I don't want the pink. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I would remove all of these like I would do. Since this one is already spent, let's go to that one. A little higher. Okay. Let's zoom up a little bit more. Okay, I think you can see me clearly there. What you would do, this would look like the one I just showed you previously, but you want to knock out all of the pollen, all of the anthers, all of the male parts out. Only leaving the female portion. And then you would come with that pollen and pollinate the rose. That is how simple that is. But in this case, I'll be right back. I'm gonna describe exactly what because I want you to see it. Be right back. Okay, so what I've done is I went to another rose who had available pollen, and in this case, I'm using this one. And this is Intrigue, the pollen head from Intrigue. So I pulled the bud right off. I sacrificed the bud, and what I do is now, after I've emasculated this rose cherish, I took out all the male pollen because I want this male pollen to go on this female's pistons. So then what we do, or what I do, is just apply the pollen. That's all we do. I'm just pretending to be the bee. And I make sure I get a good amount of pollen on there. Make good contact with everything. And then you make sure you label this. You know, you're going to put the name of the mother first, which in this case is Cherish, with the father, this one, which is, oh, wait a minute, my bad. It's Fragrant Plum, not Intrigued, Fragrant Plum. See, I almost made a mistake there. I took this off, Fragrant Plum. So this cross is now Mother Cherish. Hopefully she'll give me some seeds with Father Fragrant Plum. And Fragrant Plum is, like the name says, a plum-colored rose. And I'll show you pictures of her. Or I'll put her on the video actually. And I'm gonna make sure all of this gets on here. So we make good contact. And then in 120 days, I'll know whether or not this was a good cross, if I have seeds. And that is how I hand pollinate. Yes, you can collect the pollen and take it inside, but I'm not that good at labeling my pollen. I will forget, I will lose it. This way, I just go out there, find the rosebud that's ready to give pollen, find the rosebud that looks like it's ready to be pollinated, cross-pollinate, and label. I cannot stress enough to label. And that's all it is. In the beginning of the video, you saw the photographs of the buds on how they need to be. And that's the best way to locate a seed mother who's ready to receive pollen and a pollen father. And that's how you go about doing it. It's how I do it. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. And I'll post another video soon on the dahlia seedlings, how they're doing, and how the stored dahlias are doing, because I can't wait to start cross-pollinating those. I'm just really busy now trying to cross-pollinate the roses, and we will get back to you with another video. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. If I did everything correctly as far as pollination is concerned, then I should have in 120 days hips forming with seeds inside. I've labeled them correctly, and viable seeds should be forming, and the creation of a new cultivar. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.